Hello, this is Mesh. Welcome to this theories and final thoughts video of the Netflix series called The OA. This will contain spoilers, so if you haven't watched the season, possibly pause this and then come back later. So I have two main theories or interpretations on this series. But what I will say is the show really lets you pick your own interpretation based on your own perspective. It doesn't force you to decide what happened, as you can build or perceive it as to what suits your own philosophy and inclination. In that regards, the writer and director did a great job. So let's start with my theory 1. So theory 1 is she made it all up. The doctor that Nancy and Abel took the OA or Nina or Prairie to, she's many names, in the initial stages when they first, took custody of her. So the doctor, he diagnosed her with early stages of mental illness and psychosis. So she spent those early years after that point medicated. Then she did run off and stop taking her medication. That was when she was looking for her father. And at that point she was kidnapped. But we never find out the reality of that kidnapping, because her reality at that point was unmedicated psychosis. So the reality we see is just made up. She then returns home and starts the nightly stories with those 5 people from the community, referring to the books under her bed for ideas. So she makes the elaborate story of her capture and the elaborate story about the movements and being an angel and the near-death experiences as well. So our 5 participants find out that it's all a lie, carry on with their lives. But out of chance, when that boy comes to the school with the rifle, they all think that there might be something to this, and they're in a situation where they have nothing to lose. So they all stand up and do the movements. And it was enough of a distraction for the shooter, where the chef comes and takes him out from behind. And we see that the OA, or Prairie, was shot in the process, and possibly killed as well. So many flaws with that theory. But I guess you could probably plug a lot of those flaws and loopholes with, you could blame it on Prairie's imagination, on her medication and psychosis. There's a few points which back up that theory, which I'll just mention now. So what the doctor said to her parents, so Abel and Nancy, saying that she believes her father is alive, he's sneaking messages to her in dreams, and her dreams are premonitions, and that she also believes the Russian mafia are after her. She has tales of grandeur, and she believes that it's reality and that myths make her special. So he also recaps saying that this is a serious sign of mental illness and psychosis. So that's one point which backs us up there, that we've got a medical professional saying that. Another point here is the books under her bed. So we see Alfonso finds the books under her bed. So one book is The Oligarchs, which is a book around the Russia in the 1990s, around the society and the changes of privatization. Another book there, which is an encyclopedia of near-death experiences. Another book was a book about angels, and the last one was Homer, the Iliad. So you can really point all that to her, where she's getting her information from and her stories from. Okay, now let's move on to theory number 2. So theory number 2, she does have premonitions. The story of her father in Russia are accurate, and she had an NDE as a child when the bus falls off crashes off the bridge, and she moves to the USA, and her father is killed. So she does get medicated within the story, which brings her premonitions under control. But she still runs off to find her father when she gets a little older. So she winds up getting captured by Hap. So their story around Hap, Homer, Scott, Rachel, and Renata, that's all true. And we can also label them as angels, for a better word. So whilst they're captive, they learn the way of trying to travel to alternate dimensions by using the movements. And obviously we see, the healing power of the movements in that situation. But the real goal for them is escaping Hap. So she then gets released after completing the movements. And Hap at that point, works to take the others away with the movements and actually go to an alternate dimension. The OA believes that actually happened. So we see her working with the other 5 people from the community on trying to train them to do the movements so she can go and rescue Homer and the others through a portal. So whilst they definitely have some speed bumps on the way to this goal, they do achieve it in the final scene. So let's talk about the final scene as, I guess, one of the backup points around this theory. So we see, obviously, the 5 people there stand up and do the movements at the end. And we see that the movements are completed, and we see that OA got shot. Now, you could interpret that as it's just a coincidence, but they had an interesting conversation when the OA was travelling away in the ambulance. Just prior to that, she said, "You did it. Don't you see? I have the will. Can't you feel it?" And Steve, who was the boy that was kind of following her at the end, he said, "It's happening. Take me with you." So in their interpretation, it was actually real. So he believed it was happening, and so did she. Once again, you could say early signs of mental illness or psychosis, but for this theory, we're taking it as that was the situation. And we also see as well that whilst the screen goes to black, we hear the OA's voice kind of recap. They said it would be invisible, like jumping into an invisible current. It carries you away. And at that point, we hear the sound of a river, a powerful river, and then we cut to a scene with the OA, and she says Homer. So she reaches that other location that Homer and the others are still captured at. Probably not in this dimension, probably another one. So that's theory 2. Now, there's many loopholes and plot holes here, but let's talk about, I guess, one point here, which is the FBI agent and the books under her bed. So on one side, the FBI agent, he might, to back up this theory, I'm going to say the FBI agent may have known about Hap, and maybe they were letting that situation occur, because he had some weird conversations with the OA, or Prairie, and he said things as well which were quite strange to her. If you watch it again, he said, "I'm no more than you know," and a few of the weird lines like that he snuck in here and there. Another thing about the FBI agent as well is, what was he doing at Prairie's house, or the OA's house? And his reaction to meeting Alfonso there was very strange. You would imagine he would chastise him more, maybe even arrest him. But alternatively, it went down very strange. For me, it was a sense of guilt that he was there, that that the FBI agent was also caught in the act. So that was why he just kind of tried to be the nice guy and be supportive of Alfonso, so that Alfonso didn't question it. So yeah, that was, I guess, theories 2. So what are your guys' thoughts? Do you have any more theories? I think they're the main. That's my interpretation on the show. That there's 2 main ways that you can interpret it. There are many more intricacies within each theory, and definitely a few variations that I've thought of, but these are my main interpretations. So my final thoughts on the show. I did enjoy it. It was very thought-provoking, but I will say I was disappointed. And I was warned on a previous video I did, which was a little review of the first few episodes I watched. So I was just a bit disappointed in the direction the show went, as it moved away from the near-death experience investigation into, the angel and the movements, which definitely worked for the show, but I just didn't want them to go in that direction. That doesn't mean it takes away anything from the show. I was just hoping it went the other direction, which was more, I guess, scientific, more near-death experience stuff. But I definitely enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to watch it, as the acting and the story and the concepts were all good. But overall, it just went in the wrong direction as to what I was hoping. But I did enjoy my time with this TV show. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the theories. Have you watched the show? What are your guys' theories that you have? I know there's many intricacies which I've left out, but I just wanted to kind of recap and give you my main thoughts around my main theories here. So thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't, obviously, and subscribe for future content from myself. Still want to put out some more Westworld videos, and there's some shows starting early next month, so that should be interesting to see how they go as well. So stay tuned for that, and until next time, this is Mesh, and I'll see you later.